Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Angela Calzone, and I am based in New Jersey, USA. We are located in Union County, Roselle, New Jersey, and I am the proud and humble president and CEO of Inroads to Opportunities, an organization that supports individuals with disabilities to gain and sustain meaningful employment, life enrichment skills, and sustainability so that they can leverage their talents, their abilities to live the life that they want, which is something we all want, of course. I am originally from Newark, New Jersey, where I was born, and I grew up, I'm a Jersey girl through and through, but I graduated Uppsala College with a bachelor's degree in both English and business administration, went on to receive my master's degree from Fairleigh Dickinson University, where I took a major of corporate and organizational communication with a concentration in crisis communications. And that has all served me well. From early on in my career, where I began in broadcasting, radio broadcasting, I learned very quickly that regardless of your abilities, your expertise, your talents, your acumen, if you are unable to effectively communicate both verbally and in writing, you will not be successful. And so I have taken that with me throughout my career and have had an extraordinary time of it, both in the private sector, in financial services and privately held businesses. And now I am blessed to be running an amazing nonprofit organization. And what I discovered early on in my career about the effectiveness and the importance of being able to communicate has continued to ring throughout my life, both personally and professionally. I am the mother of one special little girl. Well, she's not a little girl anymore. She'd be very upset if I said that she was a little girl. She's now 16 years old, and she is adopted. We've adopted each other. She came from New Jersey foster care, where she spent the ages of 1 through about 4.5 years old in the system. She was medically fragile, and she is a robust, healthy, amazing young woman today. And I am blessed to be her mother. I live in southern New Jersey with my mother and my daughter. So it's 3 generations of very strong, very eclectic, high-achieving women. And my mother was an extraordinary influence on me growing up, as was my grandmother. So I am just thrilled where I am in life to be able to be sandwiched between those 2 extraordinary women. and to be the leader of such an incredible organization like Inroads to Opportunities. And I hope to share more with you throughout this broadcast.
What an incredible journey you've been on, Angela. Really intriguing. And I'm very curious to know what inspired your passion for disability advocacy and inclusive employment.
Well, as a young woman, uh, I seemed to struggle with some health issues, and without disclosing too much, I ended up as an individual who was deemed to be disabled. And within the state of New Jersey, we have the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation and other funding sources throughout the state that help individuals with disabilities achieve their goals, whether they're school-based, work-based, career trainings. And early on in my life, Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, or my young adult life, they jumped in and they helped me. And they helped me get through college. And they were there to help support me as I ventured into my, aspired career. So that was an extraordinary experience for me. I also have a profoundly disabled first cousin. We are very close. Um, and I saw the other side of it, how, being able to stay in the home was not the right solution and most appropriate solution for him. So seeing him move into group housing and then a facility where there's 24/7 care because he's not ambulatory, he's nonverbal, and see the wonderful care and support that he gets to be able to live his best life as well. Fast forward to being a mom, and my daughter comes through New Jersey foster care, but she is legally and wonderfully mine. And as we peel back the layers, after we, were able to stabilize her physical health, what we started to discover is there were some mental health issues there. So disabilities come in all shapes and sizes and forms. But anyone who is differently abled deserves every opportunity, barrier-free, to live their best life, just like anyone deserves that. And so having lived through those challenges and through those barriers, and having had the blessings of resources and extraordinary family, a very forward-thinking state that I live in that seeks to support individuals with disabilities, it is no wonder I ended up here. I think the most
awesome.
Sorry.
And I said, that is just awesome. All of your life experiences have led you to this point.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
So tell us a little bit about Inroads to Opportunities. What makes it different from other employment programs?
So I think there's a couple of distinctions with Inroads. I think first is really how it began. This is an agency that wasn't even started as an agency in 1959. So we go back 66 years. These were very proactive, progressive thinking family members who saw their loved ones who were differently abled sitting at home, not having an awful lot to do. Sorry about that. You want me to start again? That's my daughter.
That's fine. You can continue. That's fine.
So this was an agency, again, started 66 years ago. And it was family members who saw their loved ones at home with nothing to do, and any ability that they may have had, any talent that they may have had or interest was starting to wane as they came into adulthood with no program to be at. I mean, this was the late 50s, early 60s. There wasn't a whole lot for people with any kind of disabilities to really engage in. So these parents and loved ones and family members had the vision to be able to come together, rent a space, a small space in New Jersey and just, talk to people in the neighborhood, talk to businesses in the neighborhood. Say, you have envelopes to stuff? We'll stuff them. You have boxes to be put together or broken apart? We'll do it. And they weren't even paid for it initially.
Right.
And so that's how Inroads began. It was originally called the Occupational Center of Union County.
Okay.
A
Wow.
work program, essentially.
So, what does everyone deserves to work mean to you personally?
Well, I think it's about choice. And I think our choices, especially in the climate in today's world, are really there's a threat to our choices. And
Mm,
um, when it comes to everyone deserves the opportunity to work, I think opportunity is the key word, and that's why we now call
yes.
ourselves Inroads to Opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Because if a person chooses not to work and they want to go to a social program, that's entirely up to them. That's their choice. But if they do choose to work, then that path that they want to follow should be barrier free. They
Mm-hmm.
should have equal opportunity, and we really have to mean that equal
Yeah.
opportunity. Um, and they should be able to get up at bat and take a swing just like any of their
And
peers.
yeah.
It's really simple as that.
So, how do you address employer resistance or misunderstanding about hiring people with disabilities?
We do a lot of community-based education. Um,
Okay.
almost, I mean, I hate to liken it to evangelists, but in a way, we don't hesitate to go knocking on doors at the central business district or at the mall,
Yes.
or talking to privately held or large public companies and just
Okay.
educate folks on not only the importance of inclusion and making sure that everybody has an equal opportunity, truly an equal opportunity when they apply for that job, equal
Right.
consideration for that role. But also, I think, especially myself, um, sort of have an empathetic perspective for the employer. And I think
Yes.
people feel and understand that empathy. I mean, I wasn't always in the nonprofit sector. Most of my life, I was in business, and I'm not a social worker. I'm a business person, a business strategist. And I've owned a number of companies as well. And many years ago, when I was first approached, about supported employment for my own company, in as much as I understood the importance of that, there was hesitation as the
Right.
business owner. How is this
Yeah.
going to impact my customers? Will the other employees have to do extra work? What accommodations am I going to have to make? And is that going to be expensive? Many
Yes.
employers' hearts are in the right place. They want to do the right thing, but they get
Yeah.
afraid. Is it going to impact their bottom line? So,
Yeah.
because we have that understanding and that empathy, employers are much quicker to come to the table and hear what we have to say and be educated to understand that there is no material impact on your employers. This is not
Mhm.
going to negatively affect your customers. And you're going to get an incredibly loyal, satisfied employee who wants to demonstrate to their colleagues and their boss how well they can do consistently. So it's
Mhm.
truly a win-win for everybody.
Oh, I love that. That's just absolutely awesome. So, what success story stands out in your career so far?
You mean in terms of inroads or just in general?
Just in general, a story that was just heartwarming, that made you really see where you're going with this and how you're helping people.
I think initially one of the things that impacted me was, I was coming up a lot of times once I jumped into financial services, especially at the time that I did, which was the late 1980s. And, we were involved in commercial real estate and land development and things like that.
Yes.
It was a very much white male dominated business. So There was a lot of difficulty for me, a lot of patronizing, a lot of discrimination. I did not want to be a secretary. I was not a part of the admin pool. I was an educated person who wanted to be a business strategist. And for many years, I think I wasn't taken so seriously. And
Yes.
it wasn't until like the late 1990s where I met a person who was my boss, a male, and it was the first time that I had worked with a male colleague who didn't have an ulterior motive, if you know what I mean. And
Yes.
he was a father, a mentor, a teacher, a friend, and someone who really built me up to really encourage me. And he didn't see ethnicity, he didn't see gender. He just saw a very talented person in me, and he wanted me to excel. And that really brought me to the next level.
Oh, I love that. That is just amazing.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the most common barriers people with disabilities face in the job market today?
I think because there are so many different types of disabilities,
Hmm.
um, some seen, some unseen. And
Yeah.
I think what happens in the general population, so to speak, is that there's sort of this blanket, the word disabilities is a blanket that covers everyone, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge that they face.
Mm,
It's not mobility, it's not blindness or deafness or autism. It's not the disability itself that's the challenge. It's the
yeah.
perception from the other side of the table. And
Mm,
if we can start to
mm.
dispel those perceptions that, um,
That's where we start making progress, real progress.
right, right.
Uh,
And that's
wow.
why I think, too, we've all worked so hard the last decade to change the language.
Yeah.
For many years, we talked about disabled people or disabled
Yeah.
persons. And we flipped that because now we talk about people with disabilities. And they could also
Yes.
be people with blonde hair, people who like to wear
Uh,
suits, people who
yeah.
enjoy riding in a car or have a hobby. So it's the individual that comes first, not the disability.
Mm.
And so the
So,
shift in that language was important.
so how does your organization provide the ongoing support once somebody is employed?
Well, we help them from the moment they decide they want to work. So
Okay.
even prior to employment, we are working on resumes and cover letters and how to apply for a job and how to dress for an interview, and let's practice the interview and what might that interviewer ask, and that compelling question, tell me about yourself. What are you going to say when the interviewer asks that question? So,
Yes.
and then we work them through the application process. And of course, once they secure the job, we are very clear with the employer that with your permission, Mr. or Mrs. Employer, we will be
Yes.
on the job with this individual. We
Yeah.
work with them in terms of everything getting them through the onboarding process to effectively communicating at work. I think everybody should have a job coach, regardless of whether or not we have a disability, because I think it ensures success for everyone.
That's
There's
so
somebody
good.
there who's, on the sidelines coaching you and
Yes.
reminding you what you have to do. And it's just, we're there to support them to the extent they need us and
Right.
want us. Again, it's about choice.
I love that. Wow. Now, how can more businesses become allies in this work?
Oh, there's so many ways around the country, certainly. There are organizations like Inroads in every state and certainly throughout the world. Um,
Hmm.
so I would recommend that you just make sure that you look up if you're an employer who's interested in engaging in this way or even supporting an organization like this, certainly reach out. The term in the US is supported and integrated employment. So
Okay.
if that's an interest for employers, they can just simply Google it. or,
Mhm.
ask AI, chat GPT, and they'll typically point you in the right directions for organizations like ours in your community.
That's fantastic. Now, what policy changes would make a big difference in this space?
Oh gosh. I I think if we could incentivize and encourage companies somehow, there are some tax benefits for employers to hire individuals with disabilities, but
Okay.
it's not nearly uh, enough, and it certainly isn't um, substantial enough to be
Yeah.
a deal maker. So I think that would really open the floodgates if we can see more incentives for employers, not just
Yeah.
the ones that are engaging with the federal government or the state, because that's oftentimes where you find those incentives. That if a
Yeah.
company is doing business with the federal government, for example, they have to have such a percentage of individuals with disabilities on their workforce. But I'm talking about more in the private sector. Let's find a
Okay.
way to really financially encourage, um, the mom and pop businesses, the middle market
Yeah.
companies, the privately held companies, the family owned businesses. Let's get them involved in the process too, and
Yeah.
let's find a way to incentivize them in a meaningful way.
In a meaningful way. Yeah. So, what has been the most challenging aspect of this work, and how did you overcome it?
I think the most challenging aspect is certainly not what people are going to think. What I found to be the most challenging aspect is I don't speak the language. I'm not a social worker. I am not a mental health practitioner. I am not a counselor. I come
Right.
from a very different space, and
Right.
so in joining Inroads, and certainly now being involved with our trade associations and the greater disabilities community at large, it's very much still a social services um, perspective and
Right.
not so much a business perspective. So coming into this agency of social workers and counselors and therapists, and to start teaching them how to run a business, it was probably the greatest challenge of my career.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's an interesting answer. I wasn't expecting that. So, how do you balance nonprofit leadership with your role as a public voice for inclusion?
I think to me it's one and the same. My personal, my professional, and my occupational is we're all, it's all in alignment. And I think that's what makes me successful, and that's what makes me true and transparent, is that what I live in my personal life is how I lead the agency, and how I lead the agency is how we advocate for change.
Oh, wow. What advice would you give to families of people with disabilities who feel discouraged?
Don't give up.
Mm,
It's not easy. It's not easy to hear that,
yeah,
especially families who have, I mean, and again, there's disabilities that you've lived with from the day your child is born,
yeah,
to disabilities that come as a result of an illness or an accident.
yeah.
So that not giving up, there is a place for your loved one. There is a place for everyone. Um, and they do have choices, and it's not always easy to find. Here I am in the business now, so to speak, 5 years, and
Mm-hmm.
we have a state that is overflowing with resources and options, and for the specific needs of my daughter, we sit on wait lists for
Oh, man.
sometimes over a year, before we can. So
Mhm.
there's you can't give up. You can't lose hope. You'll get there. You'll get what you need. You'll find it.
So, how do individuals get involved in supporting Inroads or other organizations like yours?
Well, for Inroads, we've got everything you've ever wanted to know about Inroads, and we're happy to ask right on our website, Inroads to TO. inroads2.org. There is all sorts of information about our services and programs, how you can engage and be involved with us, donating, advocacy. There's, you name it, it's on our website. But again, too, if we are not in your area, you can certainly still reach out to us anyway, even if you're not in the state of New Jersey, and we only serve New Jersey.
Right.
But certainly we are happy to engage with anyone and answer any questions and direct people to appropriate resources across the country.
Right. That's awesome. My last two questions are a bit of a thought experiment. In the first one, I'm going to teleport you back into the past. If I could take you back to go and have a conversation with the younger you, the young woman who found herself in a very unique space, trying to navigate and find her place in the world, what three nuggets of wisdom would you go back and give her based on what life has taught you up until this point?
Wow. I think the three nuggets, as you say, of information I would give my younger self is it's going to be okay, even though it doesn't feel like it at the time. The pain is going to be worth it in the end. The pain and the struggle and the exhaustion, it's all going to be worth it. And cherish everyone you meet along the way, even those that didn't welcome you, that didn't greet you with open arms. There's something to be learned from everyone.
Very wise words. I love that. The last question is futuristic, and I'm going to teleport you into the future this time. And we are going to go and meet the 90-year-old you. And she is sitting in her rocking chair, surrounded by her family, her daughter, whoever's with you at the end. If I could teleport you into the future to meet this wise woman who has led you up until that point, what will you say to her when you finally meet her?
Thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for staying the course. Thank you for your strength and your energy and your humility. Thank you for saying yes when everyone else said no. And
Absolutely beautiful. Yes, and do thank you too. Thank you for the work that you're doing, because we need more people who are out there making a difference. We can't just sit back and watch things from a distance. When we each step up and do a little something, it goes a very long way. And I also like to ask women that question at the end, because a lot of women feel the urge to advocate, to stand for something, but they look outside of themselves for answers, for solutions, for guidance. So I have a little game that I like to share on my show with women, that I play with the energy of who I am becoming. I've met that 90-year-old woman. I talk to her all the time. When I get stuck, I go into my meditation and my prayers. And sometimes I go to sleep with a question as simple as, so what is the next step? And I sleep on that. And she is processing while I'm sleeping. And then I'm in the shower the next morning and I get those light bulb moments and I know exactly what the next step should be. So thank you for listening to your wise woman as she prompts you and guides you. That little inner voice that we don't trust all the time.
right.
Thanks so much for this interview, Angela. It's an absolute pleasure to have met you, to be able to share you with our community globally.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And thank you to everybody who tuned in. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you know someone who does have a disability, who's needing some support, who's needing some help, you now have an organization you can call on. So reach out to Angela. Don't try and do it alone. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Angela, don't go away. Bye for now, everybody.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.